Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well. And without further ado, I am going to plunge right in because I have a lot of ground to cover today. We're going to deal with the frivolities first, and we're going to deal with something extremely serious at the end. Really serious, which affects everybody in this country's future. So, without further ado, Melissa says, Dear Lady C, it's being said that the Harkles went to Portugal to see Eugenie. Do you know if this is true? Also, what is your opinion on the reason the Harkles started rumours about their marriage being on the rocks, Harry seeing divorce lawyers, and Harry not living with Markle? What was the end game for the dastardly duo? Alas, or no, it must be also because it says ALOS. So anyway, that bit with the microphone was so embarrassing. What do you think the man in the red shirt was saying as he was not giving the mic to Markle? Yes, let's start with the fun stuff. What do I think he was saying? Well, if he was at all diplomatic, he would have been saying, sorry, it's not for her, it's for you. And while Harry said, but you've got to give it to Meg. My life isn't going to be worth it if you don't give it to Meg. I can't take it. Not when Meg the star is beside me and she's the one who's supposed to shine brightly and I'm supposed to be in her shade. Please, don't give it to me. And he most likely said, that's all right, sir. If you don't want it, I'll keep it and give it to Kevin instead. Well, the whole thing is actually very entertaining, isn't it? And now to answer the rest of the question. My understanding is that there were huge problems between Eugenie and Jack as a result of Harry and Meghan's conduct. I think I touched upon this some time ago. Also, if what was being promulgated had any element of truth, namely that Harry had called in the lawyers and that they were actually on the outs, they being Harry and Meghan, and they have achieved some sort of a denouement, which they clearly have. It is possible, this is just speculation on my part, because what I've been told doesn't actually make sense. So I'm trying to make sense of the nonsense that I have been told. Because the truth is, nobody really seems to know what's going on. And it is quite likely that not even Harry knows what's going on. I suspect Meghan knows what's going on. But the game plan changes on a daily basis. Because you see, they were brought up very sharply a few months ago by the failure of their every single enterprise. And remember who is the first person who said that I had been told that they were going to be separating their brand? Remember who said that some time ago? I'm the first person who said it because I was told it by somebody who knows Ari Emanuel. Well, separating their brand and separating themselves are not quite the same thing. But I have heard from so many absolutely reliable sources that the marriage was in huge trouble. But you know, I saw it with my parents. When their marriage was heading towards rock bottom and Mummy realized that she better reeling back that salmon, she'd reel it back in. And I suspect that there could be an element of that going on with Meghan and Harry. It is also possible that the only two people in the family, and this is me reading between the lines of what I was told, who have any reasonable channels of communication open with Harry and Meghan at this point are Jack and Eugenie. The relationship between the two couples has clearly been patched up, and it is possible that they were in Portugal not for a romantic visit, but for a reconciliatory visit. And also that Jack and Eugenie are assisting in Harry and Meghan's supposed reconciliation. The problem with Harry and Meghan is you can't believe anything you're told. And since practically all information emanates from them or people who know them, you can't rely on anything you're told. And you're constantly being told conflicting things. So I hope that answers the question. Because also, it wasn't a long visit. It was a flying visit, very reconciliatory, is my reading of what was going on. Whether, of course, Harry and Meghan's marriage will ever flourish the way it did in the early days is open to interpretation and question. I wouldn't be putting any of my greenbacks on that base counter. Let's put it that way. Tracy Mars says, notice how other celebrities are okay with just being on the stage themselves and not having their spouses with them at all times, upstaging them. Notice that Harry doesn't try to steal the mic from her. Meghan needs to stop being a parasite. Well, my dear, Meghan may be a parasite, but so are orchids. And I'm the most exotic black beauty on this earth, even though I don't look black, and I made sure any question of Afro-American heritage has been ironed out, sometimes quite literally. However, I'm an orchid, and orchids are parasites. They suck off the saprosites. Oh, sorry, that's Doria getting ready with Harry to take a tot off that spliff. Well, Harry knows his place, and Harry's place is to boost Meghan. Meghan's the star. Harry's not the star. Harry, remember, was virtually unknown before Meghan came on the scene. I mean, and Harry didn't know how to conduct himself in public. And all that nonsense about Harry being the second most popular member of the royal family after Queen Elizabeth II was a figment of everybody's imagination, because Meghan's the true star. And if you don't believe that, you're a racist and a nasty person, and you should be cancelled. Harry knows his place. He is enabling Meghan, but Meghan is enabling him. Got an itchy nose all of a sudden. Mickey, honey, would you like to run into the kitchen and get Mummy some Coke? Come on, get Maud some Coke, please. Maud's throat is parched. If she has Coke floating down it, maybe it will lubricate her throat. After all, Coke is her second favourite drink. Her first favourite drink is Pepsi Cola, not Coca-Cola. Well, she enables him as well. Harry, by his own account, has dabbled in drugs extensively while with Meghan. Well, I know from members of the Markle family that Doria has had long-standing issues with the ingestion of certain substances, which certainly when they were witnessing her ingesting of those substances was illegal. So, they're a happy threesome. My gorgeous son-in-law, you're the only person who's a white person that I know who's not racist, except I suppose my ex-husband wasn't racist, but he's become racist lately, ever since. Oh, it suited Megsy baby for him to be racist. And do you like that grass? Isn't it superior grass? Oh, Doria. You're the most wonderful mother-in-law. I don't know what the both of you are talking about. Rarely. I've just had it with the both of you. Always, it's just filling the air with smoke. I don't know what you're talking about. I always have the sniffles. Why do you think that is? Why do both of you think that is? And I think I need to induce an eating disorder. After all, I've got to mimic Diana. Jennifer Lee says, Dear Lady C, thank you for your content. My pleasure. I thoroughly enjoy listening to what you have to say. I'm gratified and delighted. Thank you. My comment is with William Morris' endeavour leaning on their other clans to include Meghan Markle in their events for PR. How long will it be until WME is Markle themselves? Sending love to you and the girls. Well, they are not a straightforward PR agency the way Sunshine Sachs is. They are a talent agency who, for a percentage of the fee, should be placing Megsy Baby, star of Hollywood. Well, let's see what happens. I need to be careful how I put this, so I'm going to put it like this. You know that the story is that Sunshine Sachs had to fire Meghan and Harry because of the small matter of outstanding invoices. Well, William Morris Endeavour is an agency. They're the ones who are going to create the income and take their proportion of it. Let's see how successful they are, because maybe they're going to prove that you can't turn a sow's ear into silk purse, but you can certainly turn it into a good-looking handbag if you use enough altering substances. Let's put it that way. And of course, if they fail to deliver the super duper goods that Megsy Baby requires, because remember, she is the most outstanding star since Norma Desmond. Those dumb klutzes in Hollywood haven't figured it out yet, but William Morris and Devon, Ari Emanuel are supposed to be figuring it out for her. And if they succeed, well, everything's going to be fine. Everybody's going to be happy. Otherwise, my goodness, Ari Emanuel and William Morris in Devon, hopeless, hopeless. You know, I've got to tell you that Ari Emanuel and William Morris in Devon, I mean, I don't know how they ever got a reputation for being good. They're absolutely hopeless. I mean, they weren't even able to market me, and everybody knows I'm the most marketable commodity on earth. Gosh, I hope I don't have a cold coming on. Catherine Mary says, well, Lady C, she is the dominant partner without doubt. But forgive me, he does not look like a man who is terrified, either at Costner fundraiser or at Invictus. There are two narratives running simultaneously. Which is correct? He's just totally under her spell. He thinks she is divinity itself. At the Costner, you could see she was wary and nervous of her exalted Hollywood company. She wants something they have. She is ridiculous knocking on their windows. But one of the things that Megsy Baby does, and all women who are trading on their femininity, whether they're narcissists or not, do, because I've seen it with so many of my friends, and I've seen it with my mother, and I've seen it with loads of people I don't like either. I'm just such a delicate little flower. Everything upsets me. He hurt my feelings. He said I was one of the most beautiful girls on earth. Can you believe he didn't say I was the most beautiful girl on earth? He is absolutely just destroying my ego. And variations on that theme. Meghan plays that card. She plays vulnerable and she plays sensitive. And if you've read my book, Meghan and Harry Durrell's story, you'll see that I go into that little game that she plays in some detail. So she plays the little woman and, oh, I'm the big man. I'm an alpha male. Megsy Baby, what am I supposed to do now? Well, H, you know, since you're such a big, strong man, and I mean, you know what to do, but since you've asked for my input, and I mean, I know that you're going to listen to me, I'll tell you, you've got to eat them alive. And you've also got to give me mics whenever I want them, even if I'm not offered them. And you're always got to be pushing me into the front. And when you forget to do it, H, you've got to be perfectly happy that I tap you on the back and step in front of you. And you've got to know your place, H. He certainly was totally under her spell in the early days. Of that, there is no doubt. And I have said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I was told that she winds him up, and he's like a wind-up toy. He just is... Remember those old-fashioned wind-up toys? And till he runs out of being wound up. the energy that was generated from being wound up. And she has had a very fertile field upon which to plant those seeds, because he loves being wound up. And when there's no one to wind him up, he winds himself up. But there is no doubt that he was under her spell. My understanding is that he's not quite so under her spell anymore. But that doesn't mean he isn't functioning under her umbrella and within her shade. Big difference. What you don't do out of willingness, you will sometimes do out of fear. And my understanding is that Meghan has two very obvious cards to play, and that she does play. As the Jamaicans would say, them call pick me. Pick me. Archie and Lily. Some people also call them insurance. User TQ9EJ7ZF5B says, Gewalt. Don't you just wish YouTube wouldn't have these ridiculous identifying features? What about good old-fashioned names? Can you explain wording for Harry, Meghan on royal website? Because to me, it sounds like they are half in, half out. In 2021, on the Queen, it said stepped away. With King, it says stepped back, balancing time between America and UK while continuing to honour their duty to the King and Commonwealth. This is one of so many comments that I have received recently that I am going to address the issue. It is actually inaccurate. The contents of the website are inaccurate. They do no one any good. They give the impression that Harry and Meghan are half in, half out, that they are representing King and country and Commonwealth when they are not. My understanding is that the alteration of the website is something of a hot potato. I don't think there should be any hot potato element to updating the website so it accurately reflects the facts. There is no excuse for having a website that contains erroneous, misleading, and therefore damaging information to this country's crown, and as a result of that, this country's interests and its supporters. However, let's wait and see when the royal family website is going to be updated to the point where it actually conveys truth and accuracy. I'm not holding my breath. I wouldn't recommend you do either. but not good. Ziadie-Campbell says, "You are absolutely right about Dan Wooten. I also have a son, 35 years old. He doesn't want a wife or children. He doesn't trust women at all. Is very careful with any relations." I think she means relationships. Worry, or maybe relations, man-woman relations, as within a relationship. Let's just clarify what the terrain is we're going to cover. "It worries me a bit, I admit. These are mad times, Lady C. My English writing isn't very good. I know, sorry." Ziadie-Campbell. I think I understand what you're saying, and thanks for the comment. What is going on is outrageous. You have women who are undermining the possibility of the male-female relationship to progress in a natural, that is, in a way that is conducive to everybody's well-being, and that includes the possibility of making mistakes, not taking advantage, making mistakes. But we are in a very dangerous waters, and we are heading towards a very rocky shore. Caroline Noakes, the Conservative MP, who is the chairman, and I'm sorry, I don't say chair, they say chair. The chair is the position in which the chairman sits. It is, if it's a male chairman, it's supposed to be just the chairman, and if it's a female chairman, it's supposed to be Madam Chairman. I don't think we go around having Mr. Zimmerman and his wife, Mrs. Zimmerwoman. The whole thing's just ludicrous. Because the man at the end of words like that is short for human, not man and woman, human. I mean, these people don't even understand English or language, because this is actually not something that's unique to the English language, incidentally. Other languages have similar situations, including German. Anyway, Caroline Noakes, the chairman of the Commons Women and Equalities Committee, said on BBC's Newsnight that GB News has a really serious case to answer following Laurence Fox's very tasteless, but quite frankly, adolescent comments. She is urging Ofcom to investigate. Funny, she didn't urge Ofcom to investigate when Philip Schofield attacked me and people complained about it, and he was trying to deprive me of my right to have a livelihood. She didn't say a thing about my rights being protected. But all of a sudden, she's wading in to get GB News shut down. Wait for it. She said, "I was appalled by a news channel broadcasting such blatantly misogynistic, outdated, hideous attitudes. I think there is a really serious case to answer, and I hope that Ofcom can conclude its investigations as swiftly as possible. I think it should be taken off the air." Of course, that means hundreds of people are going to lose their jobs. Hundreds. I think it should be taken off the air. It was entirely predictable that Laurence Fox was going to come out with a statement that was that offensive. First of all, Caroline Noakes, you're supposed to be a conservative. You're not supposed to be a totalitarian. You're not supposed to be Homo Sovieticus, which is what you are. You are advocating the shutting down of a television channel because somebody said something tasteless? Are you nuts? Or are you just an idiot? Or are you malignant, malign, and malevolent, and power-crazed? Because you've got to be one of those to have said it. To shut down a channel. You are advocating censorship in the most extreme way. Shutting down a channel because somebody said he didn't want to shag someone else. Where were you about shutting down the BBC? Where were you shutting down the BBC for the atrocities it has committed over the decades, including the way it lied and protected Martin Bashir? Where were you? Have you suggested shutting down the BBC? No. No. I think you need to rethink your comments and start to modify your position and be a little bit less extreme, because your comments are outrageous. You are not only trying to deprive somebody of his livelihood, and I don't like Laurence Fox, as I have said before, and I thought what he said was hopelessly tasteless. But excuse me, it's not against the law. However, you don't mind Eva Santina Evans saying that all men should be terrified of all women. Did you ask for her to be shut down? Did you ask for the show that she set it upon to be shut down? Did you ask for the television channel that she set it on to be shut down? No. That is far more serious. And you object to blatantly misogynistic. Excuse me. You are living proof, as am I, that womanhood has progressed to the point where we really don't need the protection of anybody, because we're perfectly capable of not only standing up for ourselves, but, as you have shown, mowing down everybody else, including men who don't agree with what you are trying to advance. Outdated. Since when should television presenters or television channels be judged on how current and topical and fashionable they are? Is this a fashion show? Outdated. If people wish to espouse outdated values and views, that is their right. It's not against the law. Hideous attitudes. What is more hideous? Laurence Fox's distasteful comment, or your extreme, violent comment with a violent solution, the death of a television channel because Laurence Fox said something you don't like? And I'm going to go on to what one or two others have said. Sky's Adam Bolton told the Times Radio last night that GB News was consistently flouting Ofcom rules, yet continuing to enjoy the privileges of being a broadcaster. The issue is, in the internet age, you can't shut people up. That's fine. But should you recognise them as broadcasters on a par with the BBC, ITN, Sky or Times Radio? So he's managed to get himself in there as being the equal of the BBC and ITN. Then he says, my answer is, if you're not going to abide by the rules, you should not have that protection or status. I think shut it down as a broadcaster. It can go online. In other words, because GB News is the only channel at the moment that is offering an alternative point of view, it should be shut down. Whatever happened to impartiality? Impartial means one and the other impartial. It doesn't mean partial is in that direction or that direction. Impartial is balanced. Impartial allows the alternative point of view. And he's speaking about to enjoy the privileges of being a broadcaster. Excuse me, broadcasting isn't a privilege. I mean, being a broadcaster isn't a privilege. It is a service. It is a service. And people are supposed to serve by providing accurate and either impartial or impartially conflicting but balanced by a conflicting point of view information. This is rank dictatorship, censorship of the highest order. Is this Soviet Russia or is this Nazi Germany? Because let me tell you something. This is what they're aiming to achieve. And if you think they're not, think again. As then you have Amal Rajan of the BBC asking Angelo Frangopoulos, who is the head of GB News, who says that he's investigating what Lawrence Fox did. Why do you need to investigate it? It doesn't take very long to work out what happened. I mean, this from the BBC, who since 1995, have known exactly what happened with how Martin Bashir lied, cheated, committed fraud and perjury and forgery to Princess of Wales, and have consistently lied, cheated and deceived from then till now. So that's 28 years, if I'm not mistaken. They've been on the go with this. But they're supposed to get away with it. And they're not even supposed to be investigated. And having been investigated, they have suffered no consequences, even though everybody knows exactly what went on. But GB News isn't even supposed to go through the process of investigation because the Gestapo has arrived and it knows what to do. Well, Angelo said, we have due process to follow, so Lawrence Fox has been suspended. There's an investigation underway and we expect that to be completed very quickly. We totally respect Ofcom and we chose to be regulated. What we are doing is very different to what the normal parameters of the Ofcom code were designed for. We are reflecting a different approach. We are destructive, and that is why Britain is watching. What he means is they are the only channel which is providing an alternative point of view to the orthodox viewpoint which is prevalent elsewhere. That is the right of every citizen to have such a viewpoint. That's why people look at GB News. And GB News is being sustained by Sir Paul Marshall. And Sir Paul Marshall and Legatum are at the moment sustaining it, because the other broadcasters have gone to great lengths, as have the politicians, to lean on the advertisers and the big companies to not advertise. Now, it's actually in the interests of many of these companies to have a balanced media approach and balanced broadcasting, where people can hear one point of view and another, instead of everybody hearing the same point of view, because that's the reason why everybody's turning off television. I mean, I don't know about you, but I haven't looked at television for years. I'm not interested in looking at it. First of all, the programs are now rubbish. And as for the news, I mean, it's a joke. Well, of course, they're also eager to make sure that Sir Paul, who's trying to buy the Telegraph with Ken Griffin, the American billionaire, that they don't succeed, because they don't want any of the comments. They don't want any of the competition. You know, Lawrence Fox's comments were the second most complained about moment on British television for this year, behind the Bridgerton star Adjoa Andoh, or however she pronounces her name, who made that deeply racist comment about the Buckingham Palace balcony being terribly white during the King's coronation. Was that channel threatened with being shut down, notwithstanding the fact it was broadcasting overtly racist and disparaging comments about the royal family at the same time? Also, incidentally, somewhat inaccurate, because the king has African blood as a result of his descent from Madragana of Pharaoh, and William has Indian blood as well, as a result of his descent from Eliza Keogh. Now, since there is a school of thought promulgated not only by the racist Southerners in the United States, but by many black people, that one drop of black blood makes you black, means not practically none of them on the balcony was white. I just make that point for what it's worth. But, you see, it's okay for Ava Santina Evans to spew forth venom about men, and that men should be terrorized by women and terrified of women. That's fine. It's okay for a black actress to disparage and denigrate in the most racist manner the complexion of our royal family. But it's not okay for Lawrence Fox to make a totally adolescent, puerile, and quite frankly tasteless comment about what he wouldn't want to do with a woman who, quite frankly, in my view, is toxically feministic. I'm going to end with what Dame Melanie Evans, the Ofcom Chief Executive, has said. Over the last few days, there has been speculation and commentary about our role as the independent broadcast regulator. These are important issues, and I wanted to be clear about our rules. Parliament sets objectives on how the broadcast sector should be regulated. We set and enforce rules to achieve these objectives. Contrary to some claims, these rules remain unchanged. They are designed to protect audiences from offensive and harmful material. Well, they shouldn't be designed, with due respect, to protect against offensive material, because I find it offensive when people are shut down and other people find it offensive when they're not. So, and we're adults, we have the right to turn off. So right there, that's dodgy. But anyway, to protect audiences from offensive and harmful material, and to uphold the integrity of broadcast news and current affairs programming, while always ensuring that freedom of expression is front and center in every decision we take. This is highly valued by audiences and central to our democracy. The decisions we take, always based on fact and evidence, once a program has aired, are vital if we are to protect our vibrant media landscape. We continue to apply and enforce these rules without fear or favour. Well, on the basis of that comment, either Ava Santina Evans and many others who have put forth hateful comments are going to be also shut down, or nobody should be shut down. Let's wait and see what happens, because this is a very important moment. And I will wrap this question up by saying I am totally appalled by Caroline Noakes's outrageous demand that GB News be shut down. I mean, do these people understand what the word freedom means? Do they understand what expression is? Do they understand what impartial is? Do they understand what the rule of law is? And do they understand the difference between civil liberties and totalitarian deprivation of civil liberties? Because Caroline Noakes is advancing the requirement for the death of civil liberties in this country. I think her local Conservative Party should deselect her. That's what I think they should do. Let her run as an independent. I don't know whether she's going to run under the Soviet banner or maybe a National Socialist banner, the Nationalist Socialists of Great Britain. But let her run as an independent. My recommendation is that all her constituents try to get her deselected. That's what they should do. Caroline Collins says, someone reported that Dan Wootton smirked while Lawrence Fox was holding forth. Is Dan being suspended for his normal facial expression? The whole thing is ghastly. Lawrence Fox needs to apologize to Dan and that woman. He has already apologized to that woman. He hasn't apologised to Dan. He's set about trying to destroy Dan's career, having destroyed his own. I don't think either career should be destroyed, but I think he shows yet again what a worm he is. And you're absolutely right. Dan's default position is to smile. To an extent, often so is mine. Well, it's a joke. Well, you've got to be cancelled because you smile, and it's your default position. Your default position should be condemnatory. You should be scowling at all time. You should be looking to attack. Unbelievable. Time PG says, I appreciate your defence of Wooten and especially Fox, whom you stated you don't care for. As an American, I can appreciate what Fox stands for. As the mother of two boys, I sat in horror watching the Judge Kavanaugh trial. My son was in middle school and saw it too. He now tells me he and his friends screen all women who want to hang out. It's depressing and sad a teenager needs to have this much of a thought process to ask a girl on a date. While I appreciate what Fox said was uncouth, I go by the old adage, if you can dish it out, you better be able to eat it. Well, I've read this because I think it pretty much summarizes this. This is a storm in a teacup. But you know, this is a storm in a teacup that has the potential to destroy every bit of china in the shop. It's called our liberties, such as they are. This, in a way, is a godsend because it is showing people's true colours. I'd like to know, what are these protectors of everybody's feelings so afraid of? And I'll tell you what they're afraid of. Lack of control. They are feathering their own nests for their own enrichment and empowerment to the detriment of everybody else. Rupert Murdoch put it very well the other day when he said, and Rupert Murdoch speaks from experience. Some would say he was even speaking about himself. They have absolute contempt for the average person. They're only interested in power and garnering as much of it, in fact, grasping as much of it with their own hands as they can possibly do. And then they will go from more unreasonable situations to more unreasonable situations. You know, the offence and the punishment should always be proportionate. Since when was a distasteful comment deserving of a career being ruined, of two careers being ruined, and a whole television station being shut down? That's the reality, a total lack of proportion. And these are the people who we have elected to look out for our rights and interests. I say, deselect Caroline Noakes. I hope everybody who is listening to me can, and who is a conservative, will write in to their local party demanding that this woman be deselected, because there are not going to be enough people in from her constituency to make a difference. But if the Conservatives and send a copy to head office. So they will realise that you mean business. We really need a big shake-up in this country. We need people who will represent the interests of the people and not the interests of the political elite. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in. And to those of you who won't own the frivolity, life, I'm afraid, does sometimes require a bit of gravitas. I apologize for the gravitas, but I think it is my duty to not only have levity, but also, wherever required, have gravitas. Okay? Thank you so much. God bless. And if you have really enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and Godspeed.